Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Actors Turned Directors, Mel Gibson Interview, Part 5, in which he discusses some of his technical challenges shooting the epic motion picture Braveheart that he acted in, starred in rather, and directed. Question. Tell me about selecting your key creative team. John Toll's photography was stupendous, as were the production design and the costumes. Mel. John Toll was relatively new, or he was at that time. Now he's got an Oscar. He's a hardworking, inventive, and gifted cinematographer. I was looking at cinematographers, and the list is long because there are so many good ones, when I heard that this guy used to be the operator for Conrad Hall. I said, well, that's not a bad school. I heard that he had shot a film that wasn't finished yet, Legends of the Fall. So I called up Ed Zwick. Ed's a very nice guy, and so he said, hey, come to the editing room. I'll show you two or three reels. I went and I looked at the work print that was filthy and had scratches and tape marks all over it, but it was undeniably beautiful. I said, this guy's great, and I went after him. Incidentally, I met my editor, Steve Rosenblum, in the same room. He had done Glory. I loved the costumes. Charles is the best. This is a case in point of a guy who came in at the end of the list, but once we sat down, within 5 minutes, I gave him the job just from listening to him talk. He did the research and impressed me with his intelligence and knowledge of history. Question. What sort of directorial homework did you do while planning this production? Why did you choose Ireland over Scotland? Mel. It all came down to efficiency in cost and artistically. You haven't really got the Highlands in Ireland, but what you do have is a more gentle country. In Scotland, it was just going to be too difficult to pull all the elements together. Question. Were the opening shots of Braveheart shot in Scotland or Ireland? Mel. Oh, that was Scotland. You sent a second unit there? No, I went up myself. We shot the first 6 weeks in Scotland. All the Scottish village stuff and the magistrate. The big battles were filmed in Ireland because we couldn't find the proper terrain in Scotland where it's rocky and not horse friendly. In fact, Scotland doesn't have many horses, whereas in Ireland they export them. And we couldn't get the cooperation of the army in Scotland, but the Irish government said, here, use our reserves. Question. Did you have to pay them by the hour? Mel. We pay them daily rates. It turned out to be economical for us to do so. We had the cooperation of the Minister of the Arts, who influenced the Minister of the Defense, who allowed us to utilize the Army not only as extras, but also use the barracks to house them and to use their firing ranges as the battlefield. The barracks were over a hill half a mile away from the set, so these guys could walk to work. There was also a racetrack 2 miles away where all the horses were stabled and fed and taken care of in a proper way. And Dublin was 45 minutes away, so everyone in the crew and cast could live in civilized conditions. How long did it take to film the Stirling Battle? 6 weeks. Question. When I watched the Stirling Battle scenes, I thought of Spartacus. Did you look at any films that involve major battle scenes like that? Mel, I watched many of those because I wanted to understand what makes something like that work on the screen. I wanted to see a battle that I had not seen before. I wanted to get into the sheer ferocity and chaos of it. I didn't want to see anything that looked like a stunt. Oddly, in almost all of those old films, You can see the strings being pulled. But I'm not trying to belittle them. We've got more tools now and know more about this sort of stuff than we did in the 50s. And they had to sanitize those kinds of things in the 50s. We didn't have those restrictions, and we had more sophisticated equipment to work with. Question: when do you set your shots? Before or after rehearsals? Mel: you go in with certain visions, always prepared to change them, and you do change them in 90% of the cases. It all depends on the nature of the scene. For example, the battle scenes in Braveheart were very specifically planned with a storyboard because we needed a Bible to at least fall back on if we didn't know what to do next. Everything else we got was gravy because I had something like 7 or 8 cameras on at all times. Sometimes we knock off a shot list the night before. Sometimes the nature of the scene is more dependent upon performance than the mechanics of things, so you let the rehearsal and the blocking sort of dictate what the shot list will be. Question: how much latitude, Mel, do you give your actors to explore and experiment on the set and in rehearsals? Can you, as a director, help actors make the right choices if they are unable to come up with them themselves? Mel: absolutely. It's your job to be an objective pair of eyes, to be supportive, to guide the actors. You have the overall vision, and if the actors are deviating from your overall vision, you bring them back. You remind them of the objectives of the characters if they're going too far over the top or if they're not going far enough. You're there as almost a parent. You keep the performance level consistent. Question: do you work with video assist? Mel: I find video assist helpful because you can truly be objective and watch the whole shot, the composition, the mood, the performance. It's not the best view, but it gives you a pretty good indication that you haven't completely destroyed your own reputation, so you can feel pretty comfortable and move on. Question: how involved do you get with your cinematographer in setting angles and selecting lenses? Do you discuss each scene individually, or do you just discuss the basic concept and let the director of photography go with it? Mel: on Braveheart in particular, I had very specific things that I wanted to see, specific speeds that I wanted to explore, specific lens sizes to get certain emotional effects. For example, when Wallace rides into the village in slow motion, I knew specifically what I wanted to see. It was one of those scenes you stay up at night and think about how to best attack. I wanted to see the fear in the horse's eyes and build suspense with the slow mo until finally Wallace whacks the English soldier in the head with his sword. You probably didn't even notice it, but he gets hit in the head 3 times with center cutting, a slow one, and then you cut immediately from 96 frames to 20 frames a second. It created a powerful impact. What about the lighting? Do you leave that pretty much to the director of photography? There was a lot of great lighting in Braveheart. For example, the 2 shot in the prison cell of Wallace and Princess Isabel enmeshed in a blue tinted beam of light. Mel: I wouldn't presume to tell John Tall how to light something. We talked about that scene beforehand, the mood I wanted to establish, and then I left it up to him. Also, when it came to lenses, setups, and angles, I would discuss it with him, and where I didn't have a real specific idea, he would come to the rescue with good, creative suggestions, which made this movie a really lovely, collaborative experience. This brings us to the end of the Mel Gibson interview, part 5. In part 6, Mel will share some more about his wisdom as a director, working with the stunt people, etc., on the actual making of the film, and some more wisdom about working with the actors. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. It would help me tremendously, and I appreciate it greatly. Thank you.